Oh, that I guess that this means we're live. Hi, Rachel.
Yay! Hello.
How
Thanks
are
for
you?
having me.
Sorry?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. How are you today?
Yes, good, thanks. It's really nice and sunny today, so it's lovely vibes. How about you?
Likewise. Even though it is a bit cold, I don't mind because the sun is out. So you can see, like, I'm manifesting summer vibes with my open shoulders.
Yes, love it.
um, but yeah. All good. Still kind of getting into the groove of working. Because I think same as you just started working this week, right?
Yeah, I had a bit of a sort of slide into the new year. Like I did some like planning stuff, but
Yeah, same.
Monday was my first like I'm officially back on emails. I'm back in the room. Kind of.
I'm back online.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so since we touched upon work, can you let us know what do you do? What is your work?
Yeah. So I am a creative consultant, which I'm still practicing saying because that's a new title. You know, when like sometimes you sort of jump around on titles, like I was yet to find a job sort of title for what I'm doing now that really felt right. And actually,
Yeah.
I'm testing out creative consultant and I'm liking it. So what that means basically is I help other creatives with their content mainly. So a big part of what I do is Pinterest because it's one of my favorite platforms. But I also
Mhm.
chat about like the visuals of business a lot. So I basically help people pair visuals and sales and like
Mhm.
basically create the work that they want to see in the world. That's like one of my favorite sayings, and that's what I really like
Aw.
helping people to do.
Yeah, I also like creative consultant, and I hope you will continue to feel aligned with that title.
Yeah.
But it is a very hard thing, kind of like putting a label because like that's what it is on yourself, and especially in creativity and like in things that you do as well, you do so many things,
Yeah.
like it, like to sum that up in 1 to 3 words, it's like how.
Yeah, yeah, it's so interesting. And I think, you know, actually how I realized that I was struggling with it was I changed jobs in the pandemic basically because I used to be a
Hmm.
wedding stylist. And I sort of pivoted during like at the beginning of the pandemic and I, I realized because I hadn't been seeing people in person, I hadn't had to answer that question of like, oh, so what do you do? And
Yeah,
then I noticed when things started opening up again and I started sort of socializing with people I sort of don't know that well
yeah,
again, I was
yeah,
like, I don't know how to answer this question because I
yeah.
haven't had any practice. So yeah, it was weird.
But at least like you've reached this point, and yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I've reached social entrepreneur because I have 3 different things I'm doing at the same time, and then kind of explaining all of those is hard. But
Yeah.
I was kind of getting along the lines of, okay, so everything that I do, it comes down to advancing societal well-being. So I'm
Yeah.
going to call myself social entrepreneur.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that feels really nice. That's like a juicy role, I think.
Yeah. It still feels, yeah, it still feels weird for me to say, because like I it almost sounds braggy of sorts to say something so strong and powerful, and I'm cringing every time I said it. And just last night actually, I was on TV for the first time. I was watching myself on TV, and
Wow.
yeah, and I was literally like, my partner made me watch myself, otherwise I wouldn't, because I just curled up on the couch in my hoodie over my head. I was like, I can't. This is too cringe.
Oh, that's exciting though.
Yeah, it was like it was really exciting, and I found the kind of the experience of doing it, like being, it wasn't live, it was recorded on Tuesday and then aired last night. The entire experience was really fun and kind of easy for me, but then now the watching part, that's like,
Yeah.
oh. But yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of expectations on set there as well. So
Oh, yeah, that sounds intense. Very exciting though.
yeah, thank
Congrats.
you, thank you, thank you. So what I wanted to ask you is the reason why you're here today is basically because you wrote a really, really lovely post on Instagram a while ago about about how you and I related, and I'm sure like in the comments, like dozens and hundreds of people were like, this is me 100%, is how many assumptions of our own businesses we put on ourselves that are not necessarily factual. And I'm kind of interested in to hear how did you actually arrive to that moment of kind of self-realizing, oh, I did this by myself, on myself, and it's completely not necessary.
Yeah, ooh, that's a good question, like how I got there, because I think you don't know it's an assumption until it's proved wrong sometimes, I guess.
Mm,
Um, so I think in the sort of context of that post, I was chatting about my recent launch that I'd just gone through for my Pinterest course. And before I before I launched it, I was in a real like I was sort of coming out of some extreme burnout and like I still wasn't quite fully out of it. And I put it off for a few weeks because I was like, I'm just not in a launch headspace because it takes so
yeah,
much energy. And I think because I was in that sort of headspace, it's that I wasn't sort of firing on all cylinders like at all.
yeah,
Because I'd put it off, the assumptions that I was making was like this was in like late October or early October basically, and loads of my assumptions were like this is too late in the year to be launching this course. Um, no one's going to be interested. Everyone's saturated with online learning at the moment. No one wants to hear from me. Everyone's sick of me. Like, you know, all of those like stories you
yeah,
tell yourself. And actually, where I was with writing that post was like on the other side of it because I just decided to launch it anyway. I mean, I had cash flow wise, I had to, so that
yeah,
helped that decision. Um, but I think afterwards, like the launch, I think I had so many expectations that to launch something like that, you have to be in like prime headspace. And if you're not in absolute top energy, it's not going to work. Like that was my assumption. I was like, I have to be on like absolute tip top form.
yeah,
And then I launched it anyway. And it wasn't my most successful launch, but it was still like a really great launch and I was still really proud of it. And actually I was like, oh, hang on, all of those things that I was telling myself were actually making me feel worse and not helping. So yeah, I think it's like proof of the opposite is how I kind of arrived at it.
yeah. Oh wow. And okay, so my kind of follow-up question is, uh, if you were in that headspace of thinking, will this work? What will people say? Be like, people don't want this now. How did you still decided to go with it and just like launch the course and be like, I'm doing it anyways? Because it's usually like it's so hard to get yourself kind of out of that entire mindset and be like, I'm still doing it anyways. Fuck everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to say that I had some sort of you know, really profound moment where I was like, I can do this. But to be honest, it was necessity. Like I had to, you know, for like you know, to support my business, like if doing anything else at that point would have meant making something new anyway. So I think
Yeah,
sometimes it doesn't necessarily have to be like this, you know, I overcame, you know, like my worst fears and things. Like I actually just had to do it. I had to just sort of like
yeah,
pull my socks up and just be like, okay, we're doing this. And actually something that helped me is I I just sort of said to myself, I'm going to try and make this as easy on myself as possible. Like, I took some of the pressure off. Like, this doesn't have to be my best launch ever.
yeah,
This can be, you know, I'll do my best and that's okay, but I'm going to do it anyway. So, yeah, it wasn't, I think until afterwards, I sort of had some more like coherent thoughts about it. But in the moment, I was like, we're just going to have to do this.
yeah. I love how you were gentle with yourself because that's something that I'm still learning myself. That especially like as a perfectionist and someone who has been self-critical for everything for like almost 26 full years, to be like, it's okay, like done is better than perfect, and I don't need to be in the 100% headspace in doing that, and it's okay however it ends up, is a very, very crucial lesson on what I'm finding out now, letting more of my creativity shine, because I feel that all of that stress that comes with the burden of expectations that we usually put on ourselves, it just like limits the creativity. It almost like drowns it.
Yes, absolutely. Completely agree. Yeah, it's really creativity is one of those things where it's like it's such an intangible feeling that really comes from how you feel, and like putting extra pressure on it is like a surefire way to just
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Um,
I've got a bit of a crackle on the line. Can you hear it?
no, I can hear you. I can't hear myself back, but I'm hearing
Okay,
you fine.
it's just a little bit crackly, but if it's just on mine, then it's fine. That doesn't matter.
Okay. Hopefully,
Just wanted to check.
hopefully it's not too, like
Yeah.
too huge. um, so you've mentioned that you were, was it when you were pivoting in the pandemic that you were experiencing burnout, or was that a bit after?
Oh, I think we just had a comment saying there is a bit of a crackle.
Oh,
Yes. Not sure how to sort that out though.
oh, when I speak. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't
I
hear
don't
it.
know
Let
if
me.
it's the mic or if it's
Thank you,
my
Carly, by the
audio.
way. Um, audio, really quickly.
Oh, I think that seems to have sorted it out.
Really? I didn't.
Yeah.
I literally. Okay, amazing. I have just moved the microphone a bit.
Oh, yeah. That's great. That
Oh,
sounds
okay,
good now.
amazing,
I think that
amazing.
sounds like
Thank you
something
for
else.
raising it up, and thank you, Carly, for confirming. Yay!
Yay. That's great. Sorry, could you say that question again?
Yeah, of course, of
That
course, of
burnout.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you say that you had burnout before you pivoted from a wedding planner to what you do now, to the creative consultancy, or was it when you were when you were doing the launch?
Well, I've had loads of burnouts, like over and over again. Oh, I think there's a bit of feedback now. Can you? Oh wait, no, it's gone.
Okay,
Sorry.
all
Yeah.
good.
Um. Yeah. Basically, like I've had various stages of burnout.
Mm,
Like in my wedding styling business, it was like a constant cycle. I think for me, it's like not even so much like the job that I'm doing. I think I just another assumption I make is that things take less time than they actually do. So I tend to like really overpack my to-do list and
mm,
like overpack my expectations of what I can do. So I think it's more like a kind of personal pattern than like that's something that I've noticed actually, because I used to work in theatre as well. Before I was a wedding stylist, I was a set and costume designer for theatre, and there were really extreme phases of burnout there. And actually, it sort of led me to kind of pivoting, and then
mm.
it happened again in wedding styling. And it's not necessarily that I like was pivoting because of the burnout, but I think it all kind of contributes, right? Because when you're burnt out, you just feel like maybe it's the situation and not
Yeah.
me. And I think actually what I'm learning is that it's just a pattern that I kind of fall into whatever I'm doing. So that's something that
Mm,
I'm really learning, that actually like my working patterns
yeah.
and the expectations on myself need to change, not
Yeah.
necessarily the job that I'm
Yeah.
doing.
Uh,
So yeah.
so on that note, you said that like you've spent the first kind of the first part of this month planning, and I'm interested to hear. Did you take all of this that you've said now into account when you were planning what you're going to do for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so a massive part of my planning last week was I always do word of the year. Like I love word of the
Mhm.
year chat. And my word of the year I actually had picked out in like November, because I was like, it's time to change. So my word of the year this year is radiate. Uh,
Mm,
and all of my sort of like planning and intentions is around that word. And to me, radiating is sort of taking my roller coaster of extreme moments of sort of productivity and creativity, and then followed by burnout. Like I think in the past, my work patterns have been very like extreme energy, really, really tired. Extreme
Yeah.
energy, really, really tired. And really this year I want to work on like a more consistent like glow, I guess, rather than like flash burnout.
Yeah.
um, so I think actually weirdly having that word to like guide me has really
Mhm.
helped me um, with setting my intentions for the year. Like a lot of my intentions are to do with like wellness and health and like sticking to daily routines because that really tends to help me.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure that because of what I'm like as a person and my patterns in the past, I'm sure I will sort of fall down on it. I'm sure there will be moments where I still stack my to-do list too high because that's just my natural tendency. But I'm
Yeah.
hoping to start to heal it. Like, I don't have to solve it all, but I would
Yeah.
like to.
Yeah, yeah, I can relate 100%. And I know one of the things that helped me was I used to, because I did this from a very, very young age. I was like a child with 20 out of school activities. I was always out of the house. So I tend to overpack my calendar and then have like 100% of work and project time and 0% of personal and hobby time.
Yeah.
So when I decided, and it was also like post burnout, okay, so I definitely need to kind of change how I work, and also how I live consequently. What I did was I blocked out time in my calendar just so when it's empty that I can't put more things in. It's like
Yes. I love that.
this is time for me. Like whatever, like I don't have to know what will I be doing in 2 months, but no, like this is unlike this is me not available time, so I can't pack anything in. So
Yeah.
because I'm really similar. Like if I have like even if I don't have any opportunities, I tend to create opportunities on my own and then just like come up with new stuff. That's just the creative brain. I'm sure you can relate as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think I totally relate to that. And I guess maybe it comes from like I know you're a like hyper creative person as well and you've got lots of going on, like you've got your amazing paintings in the background there, like it's and I think when you are creative and you have a lot of ideas, there's a real struggle of like I want to do all of these things now and it feels like a
Mm,
need and it
yeah,
really is like the discipline that you need to not
yeah,
take every idea and run with it. It's
yeah.
it's quite intense.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
intense. I remember how my psychologist referred to me as a creative tornado. Uh,
That's amazing.
Yeah, because like I was speaking with her how like I drive my partner crazy with the amount of ideas that I have, and he's like poor boy just drowning in them. He can't keep up. Then she's like, Franca, you need to like don't push all 200 ideas on him. Like take two or three that you know you're going to at least start running with them, and then feed feed him that because otherwise it's just like a mishmash of so many different things that I like if I manage to understand all of the steps that are in front of me, I'm already bored. I won't pursue. It needs to be new and exciting and challenging in order for me to kind of not know where it's going or like at least be uncertain enough for me to have interest or keep having interest inside.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. And actually, something I chat about this all the time at the moment because it's my recent obsession. But have you heard of the Sparketype test? It's like
No.
the Ruben Field. So it's one of those personality tests. We've
Yeah.
actually I just did a podcast episode about this with my pal Ellie on our podcast, which is coming out. Oh wait, it's out today actually. I just did not do that on
Wait.
purpose.
Whoop,
Um
whoop. Let me,
so
I will, while you're talking, I will search for it and then put it on the video.
yeah, so it's called the Sparketype test. It's like Spark E type. Um
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of those personality tests and when I'm just obsessed with those anyway because I find them really fun. When I did this one I've never felt so seen and it's to do with like what lights you up as a creative or like what lights you up in your work. And the one that I got, you basically get three different sort of personality types given to you. There's your primary, and then you have a shadow, which is basically still something that's really important to you, but you do it in like service of your main one. And for me,
Mm-hmm.
my two of those were maker and maven. And maker is to do with like everything in your being is to do with like making things, whether it's like physical things or experiences or just like creating. That's your like driving force.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. I've just seen the podcast pop up. This platform is amazing.
I love it
Um,
as well. Yeah.
and and then the next one is maven, which is to do with learning, and like basically everything that you're doing is like you want to learn new things, and when those two things are paired together, basically you're learning new things to create something. Once that thing is created, you want to create something else. And I feel like maybe yours might be quite similar, but one of my favorite things to do at the moment is like try and guess other people's archetype. I
I
honestly am
will.
so obsessed with it.
Okay. I
um,
will let you know when I feel it later in the day because I
yeah,
haven't. Yeah. I will.
it's
Okay.
so fascinating. And I think that when I read that, I really felt like it gave me a lot of peace, because for ages I've sort of thought like, oh, maybe I'm just like flaky and I just always want to go into to the next thing. And I sort of saw it as like a bit of a negative thing. And actually,
Mm,
when I realized that that was because my driving force is just, I want to learn and I want to do new things, actually,
yeah.
I was like, well, that's something to be celebrated, not something to feel, I think also, especially because in like the online business space, there's so much stuff about like niching and like,
Mm,
know your message and do one thing. And like, I think there has been sort of some other chat as well.
yeah.
Like I think it's not so much only that, but I think you sometimes internalize that and you think like if you don't want to do one thing forever, you're
Yeah.
bad, or
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah. I definitely struggled with what you've just said about kind of niching and specialization and everything because that's just not me. I feel like my brain is at its best capacity when it is doing a lot of things at the same time because then I'm just like it feels like a lot of different a lot of channels, like it's like a multi mixer, and then like if there's only one, then I actually can't kind of like I it just doesn't work. It
Yeah,
feels like, yeah, it feels like I need at least like two to three different things to keep me engaged at the same time, and then all of them are moving and progressing equally versus me kind of just like getting bored because also what always tends to happen is like one inspires the other.
yeah,
Like you, because even though they might be completely different, like it's like the amount of information and new ideas that I get from doing so many different tasks at the same time is just invaluable for me. But
yeah,
but I have definitely struggled for, yeah, like until September of last year. I think it was when I was like, I can't continue to give a damn about having my one message and one niche. It's like I have an awesome brain, and that's just like use it as you feel fit. Like,
yes, I love that.
yeah, there's no specific industry or something that I necessarily can't tap into. I'm a quick learner. I'll pick up on everything. So basically, to make me like put in a like fit, make me fit in a box that has just like one category. It's, I
Yeah,
feel, yeah,
yeah, and also like we have to be happy with what we're doing, right? Like it's hard work. So if you're going to
yeah,
work hard, you also like we need to do things that fit us as people so that we
yeah,
can thrive in life. Like that's the ideal.
yeah,
It's not always
yeah.
possible. Oh, there's a crackling again.
Okay, I have moved my mic again. Maybe it will be
Hmm.
better.
Yeah, I can hear
Let
it
me know,
actually.
Carly. Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Wait. Let's try again. How about now?
no, it's still the same. It's funny because it went away completely, and then it's sort of
I'm not sure. Is it because I'm touching the table in the meantime? Maybe I should move move
Is
move
it
away a bit.
like the connection on the? Is there like a wire on the mic that needs
Yeah,
like?
I am. Well, it could be.
Oh yeah, it's quite bad now.
Now it's bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh
How about now?
yeah, it's still the same.
Still.
Yeah. It's so weird how it just completely went away before.
And is the quality, do you,
Oh,
is it better now?
yeah, that's
Okay,
better.
I have just switched from the like the microphone to the iMac microphone. So
That sounds great now. Yeah,
okay, amazing.
yeah.
But thank you.
um, what we
Um,
talk about? Yeah, I think like it's it. We need to, even if like I get where the like niching down thing comes from.
hmm,
Um, because it's like it if you're doing less, it is easier to grow in some circumstances, and I think, you know, there is something to be said for like not doing too much so you don't burn out, but
yeah,
it's like it's finding the middle ground where you can still do what makes you happy, and, you know, build a business and a career that fulfills you. So it's like finding the middle ground between like stuff that works and also stuff that works for you.
yeah. Oh, that's 100%. And I think like just now, I have been thinking a lot this week because I've also been doing some planning and stuff of how I want to work this year. Because last year, even though I did fulfill my goal of not working more than 20 hours per week, because like I used the other 20 work hours to work on myself, and that kind of took a lot of energy and time. I was like, I'm not going to over commit working on professionally and personally.
Yeah,
Um,
love that.
yeah, thank you. And now I'm like, okay, so even though I fulfilled that goal of working 20 hours per week, I was still very judgmental of myself and I criticized like, okay, I don't feel like I want to work in the mornings or I want to work in the evenings, but I shouldn't work in the evenings because that's unhealthy and it's going to ruin my sleep and blah 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 blah. And then like all of those kind of, I don't know, weight, like it just like felt like weight on my shoulders of how many like unwritten and unspoken rules I was putting on
Mm,
myself instead of just kind of running with my creativity, because when it comes, it comes.
yeah.
Yeah. And now this year, because I was really afraid that because I'm like I was a I was a critical workaholic, that if I allow myself to start working at like 11 p.m. when I feel like my brain's on fire, that I will slip into overworking again and won't be able to come back. So I was
Yeah.
really, really restraining myself with all of that kind of trying to find the balance, whatever the fuck that word means. I'm now more leaning towards the word dynamic because I feel
Mm,
it's more sustainable. Like balance never sit right with me. Whereas dynamic, I think it offers more kind of like it offers more complexity, and we are human beings and we are complex. So like
yeah.
I'm kind of sticking with dynamic for 2022, and also approaching my work as an experiment. Basically, what I decided to do for the first quarter is as soon as I have a work thought in my brain, I will come to this study office, do whatever it is that's in my brain, at least like either do it or write a note or something. And then once the thought is flushed out, I go back down into my living space and I resume. Because otherwise, it's just like, like it's always there in the back of your mind and you're never really quite free from the work thoughts. And before I was not allowing myself to do the work, even though the work was still stuck in my head.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to see how this experiment will prove, but I'm hoping it will work.
Yeah, I love that. And I think like it's so many of us expect ourselves to like follow certain rules, like you were saying, and also that those rules will work for us forever. Like
Yeah,
you might find that this experiment works really, really well for a while, and then like, you know, next year it might be like, actually, maybe something else will work. Like I love that light touch approach of like having an experiment and not being completely stuck at doing one thing all the time,
yeah,
or like one approach. And I think
yeah,
that you're totally right with the when you have an idea and it's like pestering you. Like I'm definitely guilty of having the idea and then sitting on it for ages, which is something I'm really trying to stop doing, because then once you've sat on it for ages, it almost changes in your head, doesn't it? And then it's
Yeah.
like, oh, this seemed like a great idea before, and now I'm not in the right headspace to do it.
Yeah, oh, 100%. And it's kind of mixed with my okay, um I will come prepared better next time on how to share the screen and actually bring something here, because like there's a diagram that says kind of, if you imagine a triangle, it says thinking, thinking, doing. And
Oh
I
yeah.
go from thinking, thinking, and then I surpass the doing, and just like I'm in the thinking, thinking loop, and I never start doing the doing part, and it's like I run with the thinking so far ahead that, like what you said, just like, nah, this isn't the same idea anymore, and I'm
Yeah.
not in the right headspace, and it feels completely different, and then all of the overwhelm begins because like, why didn't I do it? Why didn't I? No, 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 no. It's like it's exhausting. So
Yeah.
yeah,
You almost like talk yourself out of it, don't you? Like you think you have the idea, and then it's like, well, how can I make it better? Or like, what if
yeah,
this doesn't
yeah,
work? And how can I make
yeah,
it completely perfect before I? And it's like, oh,
yeah,
it doesn't need to be. Just like let it be imperfect. Let it be the idea, and let it manifest in the way that it wants to at the time.
yeah. Exactly. That's what I was kind of stuck with. And like now I'm not stuck. I'm allowing it to resolve it on itself almost. About how do I want to bring this entire community together, because I really like kind of witnessing people's stories and holding the space for all of the stories and experiences. I want to be able to do that on a bit larger scale than just all of these one-to-one interviews, which are the highlights of my week every single week. I got so intertwined into thinking, looking how other communities are set up, how other memberships are set up, how what other people are doing. Is like, this just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. And then it's like you keep prolonging it. And now it's like I have no idea what I want, and I'm just kind of letting the idea come to me instead of me searching for the idea.
Yes, that is, I honestly can't express how much I relate to that. And that's something that I've been working really hard on, like over the last maybe like 3 or 4 months. Like, and I'll say working hard on with help. Like, I'm not, this isn't stuff that I've come to on my own, like therapy, working with coaches, like
Yeah,
reading, all that kind of stuff. Um, and actually, like, exactly the same thing of like I have a tendency to really try and force ideas and like think myself into a bit of like a wormhole.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And actually, like, isn't it fascinating that the same task could take a month or it could take 2 hours? That's
Yeah.
extreme. But like, in fact, I had an example of this yesterday because I was like working on a workshop idea, and if I could have sat on that idea for a month and like really, really tried to perfect it, but actually I was just like, oh no, that's what I'm going to do. I've decided. And I was like, I can't believe how quick that was. It just shows how sometimes it's not the task that takes a long time, it's the thinking about it, and it's
Yeah.
the staying stuck in like indecisive mode, which is where I spend a lot of my time. So yeah, I completely agree and relate to that.
Yeah, and oh, I wanted to come back to um, for a couple of times during the conversation, you've said that you will kind of be that you will have like kind of more structure in your days and kind of change some of those strategies that weren't working for you. And I'm curious, how are you kind of going to integrate that into your work life or personal life or all of it?
Yeah, so I think I mean, so I'm a big visual tracker. Like that's something that actually really brings me a lot of joy. I know that sounds like quite funny, but I love things like a sticker chart. I love having a sticker chart. I'm like a child. I need like visual rewards to like help me kind of just do these things.
Yeah.
So like setting up, some I think again, it's like you were saying, it's experimenting and seeing like
Mm,
what are the things. I'm not just going to have a checklist of things that I need to do every day if it's not actually going to help.
yeah.
So it's literally tiny things. Like I've actually got a habit tracker set up on my like Notion organizer thing, and I've got like a tick list, and the things are so small, like go outside. Or like literally go outside is one of, and all that's the one that always has the least checkpoints, because I am quite bad. Sometimes I will, if I left unchecked, I'll just stay inside all of them. It doesn't help me. Things like taking my supplements in the morning and like all of that kind of stuff. And it's not, I think I'm learning that it doesn't have to look the same every day. Like, I think in the past I might have had things on there like, do a 15-minute workout every day and it has to be this workout. And whereas like actually something that is working better for me at the moment is movement. And
Yeah.
that's the rule. Like,
Yeah.
it can be like dancing around to a song. In
Yeah.
fact, this is what I did this morning, because I woke up and I had an idea that I want of like a paper thing that I wanted to make on my Cricut machine, and I was like, I want to do this now, but I haven't done my workout or my movement. So I was like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my Cricut going, like cutting the paper, and I'm going to put music on and I'm going to dance around while
I love that.
and that's fun. And for me, like that's the habit. It's not like, it doesn't have to be super rigid.
No,
And
yeah, it's showing up for yourself.
yeah, and I think allowing yourself to follow the flow of what you actually want to do, instead of like, well, I have to do this. Like, I think I work well with routine, but it needs to be routine with a bit of flex in it. Like, it
Yeah.
needs to be routine that I can bend to fit how I'm
Yeah.
feeling today.
Yeah. I 100% agree. And I remember how when I was coming like from burnout, I also had like a checklist that literally kind of outlined things from like it was like, get up, make your bed, brush your teeth, wash your face. Because as I was overworking before, I literally wouldn't do anything that was solely me time. I would wake up and go to my laptop immediately and kind of read at emails whilst brushing my teeth or stuff like that. So I was like, okay, no, like we need to dedicate some time in the morning for a morning routine that's just like my kind of sacred holy 5 minutes. Other than the dog is allowed to break my personal space, and he does that very, very often. But he's adorable, so I can't be angry with him.
He's allowed.
Yeah. I'm sure Ceci is the same.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think she's actually literally on this chair here.
Oh, adorable.
Yeah, she's exactly the same. She's
Yeah.
allowed to break the routine.
Yeah, and yeah, sorry.
No, carry on.
Oh, okay. I remember how I used to like. It's funny how you set up all these kind of well-being habits, and if you're not too careful, you can slip into perfectionism with your well-being habits.
Yes, absolutely. And I've very much fallen into that trap before, for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's really easy, and what I was talking with my therapist, I think this week or maybe last week, I can't remember, was how like the perfectionism and the criticism were my default for my entire life. So now basically doing anything that's different, it's like practicing anything from scratch. Like it's completely normal to kind of slip into your old ways of doing and working and being. But then instead of being judgmental towards myself because I've slipped back into my old habits, I need to be like, just okay, this is happening. Be self-aware, realize, catch myself in that, and judgment-free continue, kind of just revert back and start again.
Yeah, I love that. That really reminds me of it's like when people talk about meditation, and how, if you try and meditate and you're like, don't think about anything, like stop thinking, and you like try and like push the thoughts away, it doesn't really work. But you're meant to sort of like allow the thoughts to come past, like sort of moving traffic. And
Yeah.
then if you realize you have sort of started thought spiraling, you can notice it, and then actually it's just a chance to practice bringing yourself back to, you know, that place
Yeah.
of like watching the thoughts. And I feel like it's the same with this, like you say, the default. I mean, I feel like, are we the same person? Because that's definitely my my default as well. Like, just if and left unchecked, it's like you just allow yourself to spiral into that default
Yeah.
place. But I love that about like not judging and just sort of being like, you're doing that again, pal. Back you come.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly that. And yeah, I think what helps for me, because I'm also a very visual person, I just don't have the patience to create everything like you would. And even worse, I will create it, then like in a day or two I will get bored and want to
Yeah.
improve it. And it's like, then it's a never ending cycle of just me doing crafty things. Which is
Yeah.
lovely. But yeah, can't I will just fall into that then. But what I wanted to say is like I have a couple of almost like visualizations and metaphors in my own head. Like the recent one being, I remember even though I'm not a sports person, I kind of remember when you're going. Well, not me, but let's say Michael Jordan, because he can do it, I can't. Like go shoot the ball through the hoop, but you do like when they lift off from the ground, it feels like it's in slow motion.
Yeah.
Like they're climbing and they reach the hoop and kind of dunk, just like they are like that moment of focus when they are dunking the ball into through the hoop. That's what I visualize at that moment, because this is my moment of where I have control over what's going to happen. Because if I'm not like, if I don't go in there and kind of be okay, so you're doing it again, I'll miss every point, and then it's just going to like I'm going to lose track of the game.
Yeah.
And yeah, just kind of having that visualization with me when I feel like already that something is overwhelming me. I'm just like, okay, what, like I'm Michael Jordan and I kind of pushing the ball through the hoop. I think the only thing he and I probably have together is we are both very tall. No, other than that, I wouldn't think and there's anything else. But yeah, that kind of visual metaphor helps me in thinking thinking more clearly in those situations.
Yeah, I love that. It's so useful to have like those sorts of things in your back pocket for when
Yeah,
you need it. Like it's so and you can collect those over time, can't you? And it's like it's
yeah,
all just tools. I love it.
yeah, yeah. Same. I'm thinking, like there's both of my coaches actually described something like a very similar thing. One framed it because one framed it as kind of thinking of like a shining diamond that you have kind of within your stomach. For me, it's stomach because I'm really connected with my gut feeling, and I always feel in my gut whether something's coming, whether something's wrong. So it's
Yeah.
like I'm always kind of coming back to, okay, like is my diamond shining? Like is it filled with liquid gold and that's pouring over, or is it just like dimmed?
Yeah.
Um, and just like as because I really like that reference, I'm actually thinking of getting like a geometric diamond tattoo over here as like a
Oh.
constant reminder. Okay, it like does this feel good? Am I
Yeah.
where not where I need to be, but like am I where I am?
Yeah.
Almost. Because like I would either always be thinking about the future and getting lost in future thoughts on or get lost in what things happened in the past, instead of just being here where I am now at this very moment.
Yeah, I love that. It's all just, you know, it's so hard to be present.
Yeah,
Like it's so difficult. I think especially again, like as we've been saying, when you've got lots of stuff going on. But I
yeah,
love that reminder of like, is my diamond shining? Like the just having little things that work for you
yeah,
that just it's like stopping that thought process in its tracks, like because it is, you know, I know that like part of like I guess we've sort of like talked around it, but it's like that, like a lot of that spiraling can be like critical in a voice, can't it? Like
yeah,
it can just be sort of like you catch yourself and it's like, oh, here we go again, I'm doing this again, la, 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 la. And you just
yeah,
need something, whether it's visual or, you know, a visualization or like a phrase like that, just to bring you back to yourself. I love that.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like criticism is other side of the coin of creativity.
Yes.
um, just like, yeah, I feel like one doesn't go without the other. And just having that realization, which I've never articulated before, just like it came as I've said it now, it actually offers me a bit of like more relief, because I know it's to be expected. Like, it's not something that means something's wrong with me, but rather it's just like that's natural way of like of things. That's a natural kind of a side effect of being a creative person. You're
Yeah.
extremely critical towards yourself, but just like it takes a bit of work of being. I feel like I'm the same with my kind of anxiety and panic and everything. Like, thank you for showing up. I'm
Yeah.
good. Thank you. Thank you for doing your work. I appreciate it. You showed on your job, but like, feel free to take the day off.
Yeah. Yes, I absolutely love that. Also, something that a technique that I was taught by Selena Barker, who's an amazing coach, and she does a lot of work on like burnout and like work stuff as well. She taught me to when you hear the critical voice,
Yeah.
um, to imagine that voice in like a funny character voice. And for me, she was like, she knows that I love Disney and like everything Disney. She was like, your critical voice, when you hear it, has the voice of Donald Duck. And like whenever I hear it, if you just hear something mean in your head,
Yeah.
or like even if it's not mean, even if it's just like indecision or like anything that sort of like starts you
Yeah.
going down that path, I have to stop myself and imagine it in Donald Duck's voice, and it just is so silly and hilarious that it just like breaks me out of the pattern instantly. Because I
Oh
just
wow, I
imagine
love
Donald
that.
Duck being like, "Stop it!" Yeah, it's funny.
I love it. But what that does, I feel like, is it makes you kind of realize that you are not your thoughts. You're just the thinker of your thoughts,
Yeah,
and then kind of like sticking another character to what you're actually thinking that doesn't necessarily align with how you feel, which is like kind of there to sabotage you at that moment in time. It's like that distance that's then created is powerful because it makes us, ha, look at
yeah,
this fool.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just sort of takes it. It takes it from something that takes over to something that you just sort of want to be like, there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Oh, I love that. It's a Donald Duck. I wonder. I need to think what mine would be.
Yeah.
Ah, um. So I don't know. I feel like I feel that with everything that we've talked about and kind of having this start of the new year, what would you say? Because, and as you said, that I presume that other than kind of business planning, you've done some personal planning as well. What did you say that your goals were for your kind of well-being and health and everything kind of moving through 2022? What are you going to do for yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. A lot of it is focused around those sort of daily minimums of like daily expectations is the wrong word, but like doing the things that I know support me.
Mm,
Um, and also making sure that I block in time off, like you were saying right at the start, like blocking
yeah,
in, you know, like for example, if I do a launch, I have the next week off. Like those are
yeah,
my expectations. Those are my like minimum things that I need to do.
yeah,
Um, and I think just allowing myself to follow, not be so stuck on the plan, and like allowing myself to kind of follow, if something comes up, I can follow that. Or similar to what you were saying before about, like if you have the idea, do the thing.
yeah,
Um, and actually a big one, a sort of commitment in terms of like committing to my creativity, I guess it's like sort of worky, but also it's mainly for me, is I'm trying to do a bit of like creative stuff with paper every day, like, and
mhm,
also again like that that's the rule, but it's not like, it doesn't have to be an hour. I don't have to make a thing every day. It's just like, if I spend 30 seconds doing a little doodle on the back of an envelope for my next thing that I
Yeah.
want to make, that counts. Like, just
Yeah.
that little, keep it. Because I think for me, something that sort of contributes to burnout is not feeling creative. So it's like
Mm.
finding ways to bring that into my work now. That doesn't mean starting a whole new business, because that's sometimes the temptation is like, if I'm like, I feel uncreative, I must start a new product business. No, stop. You don't need to do that. Just like doing a little thing every day is just like
Yeah.
keeping that sort of like need going.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I just remembered how you was it last Christmas that you had the permission slips
Yeah.
loan? Yeah. So yeah, you have a lot of permission slips that you're giving to yourself in 2022.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so important to just like, it's, we've all been through like an absolute time and a half, and I think if you can't give yourself permission to enjoy things where you can, when
Yeah.
possible,
Yeah.
like, now's the time to
Yeah.
be gentle
Yeah.
with yourself.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And so, two things. First, I really can relate with starting businesses from anything creative that you start. Just like whatever started as a creative hobby for me ended up being a product business.
Yeah,
It's like,
constantly.
okay, yeah, now like, Franca, enough. Like, you can go to a pottery class without needing to sell the cups that you make on the pottery class.
Oh yeah, the struggle is real. I'm exactly the same.
Yeah. But the second thing is I've I what I am doing very intensely in the past couple of months is re-questioning everything, like every single thing, and the latest thing was also like how I approach my work and how I approach my calendar, because like as I've said in the beginning, like I put a lot of rules when and like how much and when and when I shouldn't be working. Um, and I realized only kind of recently it all kind of came together how I've been trying to like mimic um, the not the best cases, but like how other people are doing it and how like a lot of other people have seen success with.
Yeah.
And then like it's so easy to feel the urge to be like, okay, I need to do this exactly the same, forget where I'm forgetting that, okay, but I have a completely different brain and different ways of working and different ways motivation shows up for me and different amounts of discipline in my day to day
Yeah.
than those people. So it's like I'm giving myself the permission slip to just like go with the flow. Like if I feel like when I feel I want to work, I'll work. When I don't feel like working, I won't work. And just trust in myself that this approach will lead me, like will bring me more success because it's going to be an approach that aligns with who I am as a person in like every single thing, versus trying to kind of distribute myself along different kind of productivity methods and tools, and I don't lay in plans. I'm just like, okay, let's see like if this one works, and then I'm going to have you in the back of my head as well, because you said it doesn't have to work all the year round.
Yeah.
And then, like in 3 months, it can be completely different. During the summer and during the winter, I'm two different people. Like in the winter, I just want to hibernate.
Yeah.
It's like I'm ready, and that's why now when I was the first thing that I did when I started planning was I blocked off my time off, and I have set the out of office autoresponder in my calendar for all of those dates.
Oh, that's
Because
good.
yeah, I was like, this is my non-negotiable. Like, and like if I'm starting to plan the entire year, I'm starting to plan with my time off. So literally, like I have from 3rd of December, every like my doors are closed, and then my friends are like, you're not going to work the entirety of December. Why? It's like, I just don't like working in December.
Yeah. Oh, same. My brain is like a little prune in December. I'm like, no.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, same. Like I'm just like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, like a teddy bear that's like in
Yeah.
when goes into the cave, and like I'm just like Netflix and chill and read books and drink mulled wine and mulled
Oh,
gin,
yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah. And I love
um
that. And that should be celebrated. Like we're like cyclical beings, aren't we? Like even, if you have a menstrual cycle, it's the
yeah,
same. Like
yeah,
during in 1 month, I feel like two different people.
yeah,
And you
yeah,
just have to,
exactly. Yeah,
like ebb and flow with that.
yeah, exactly. And I hope that everyone listening to us live and later on the podcast will kind of not necessarily apply, which like start thinking about the things that we discussed today, because that's the only thing I can ask you, right? Like it's like just to have a think about the things that we say on this podcast and things that we discuss, because the entire intention is to kind of bring awareness and almost like normalize
Yeah.
how just like how different each and every one of us are, and how all of we try to cope with it and kind of try to rediscover ourselves without any labels and expectations. So
Yeah. I love that.
thank you, Rachel, for joining us today. I had a blast.
Oh, thank you. I've absolutely loved this. It's been so lovely.
Oh, thank you so much. Let us know where can people find you.
Oh, yes. So, basically, Rachel Emma Waring everywhere. Waring is Waring. That's me. That's my website, rachelemmawaring.com. That's me on Pinterest. That's me on Instagram. That's my name. That's where to find
There you
me.
go. Yeah, yay. So yeah. Follow Rachel everywhere. Basically, as you can see, she's the best, absolute best. And
Oh,
the what so just like to end the point, it made me one of your stories and before that reels made me laugh, because I was like, I saw the reel where you kind of switched Trello for Notion. I was like, oh no, she did
yeah.
it.
I know. Such drama. I don't think I've ever had so many replies on my
Yeah,
DM, because people were absolutely not outraged is the wrong word, but it was, I know, it felt scandalous. I've been
yeah,
such
it
an
was.
avid fellow fan for so long. I honestly felt really nervous about saying it, because I really feel like it's become part of my personality. I felt like I was betraying Trello, but yeah.
Yeah, because like as soon as I saw the like the caption that like the cover photo of the reel, I expected to see a Trello
Yeah,
dashboard, and it
I
didn't.
know.
Like no.
I know. But that's like such a classic example of like how things can work for a while, and then you just need a change. Like that was exactly that
Yeah,
thing. It's exactly what we've
yeah,
been talking about. Like I almost got saturated with the system that I had, and I just needed a
yeah,
bit of a refresh. So
yeah.
yeah,
There you go.
there
Okay,
you
thank you,
go.
folks. Thank you, Rachel, and you can follow us on also basically everywhere at Unsetting Expectations. This lovely, lovely, lovely hour with Rachel will be live on Instagram and on YouTube and on the podcast, on all of your podcast platforms where you're listening. So thank you for being here with us. Thank you for helping us with the audio problems. And I hope to see you next week. Okay, bye.
Thanks so much.